Okay. Amy, today, another episode of Resting Pitch Face. Amy Andrews, Managing Director of RF Landscapes. So we're going to go through a little bit about you, where you've come from, the business, the sector, I think, would you agree, is a little bit more male-led?
I think so, yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'd like to dig into some of the challenges, if you've seen them, what that looks like. But if you could start by just giving us a little bit of a rundown of how you got to where you are and the business that you're in.
So thank you for having me. I appreciate it. So I originally started, I was an accountant. I went straight from school to go into accountancy. I studied all the way up to my ACAs, so I was nearly qualified and had a life epiphany that it just wasn't for me. I think because that kind of industry is quite focused, and I think certain personalities suit certain things. I think I was a little bit outgoing, a bit talkative for it, and I think it always suppressed me. So I got to a point where it just didn't make me happy anymore. From that point, I went to go work for a family business. I started off at the bottom and gradually over the years just worked my way further up. I started a new part of the business, which is the porcelain and the tiles section. So it was quite a stone-dominated business. So I kind of took my own part of it and moved forward. And then the reason where I am today is, I guess, I kind of got thrown into it, really. So about 6 years ago, a lot of the senior members in the company retired.
Okay.
And it was a bit one of those things, like you either go for it or the company gets sold and it probably changes direction. So I just went for it. So that's why I'm where I am today. And it's worked out great. I think a lot of things in life you do just have to just go for it and back yourself. I don't think it's always necessarily about the qualifications or everything that people think is like the traditional path to things. I think there's, a lot of ways that you can go for what you want just by going for it.
Was it started by your dad?
It was, yes. Originally about 30 years ago.
All right. So you came in at the sort of latter decade?
Yeah, I think I started about 13 years ago. So I originally started just answering the phones in sales. I think for my dad, because I had a finance background, it's always a good place to start in business. And then I think when I started, I noticed certain parts of the business that could improve. I think age is a big thing. So my dad's in his 60s. 60, he'd hate me saying in his 60s, he's 60. And I think that even for him, I think times change, things change, all to do with like social media. My dad's not that sort of person. It wasn't kind of his era. So I think I brought a completely fresh look onto the business. And then from that, I set my own section up, focused on something really different. So it was like I was kind of running a business within a business. Mm-hmm. And then, from there, quite a few members retired. And that was when it was you either take it all or stay in your comfort zone. And chose to take it all.
So going back to the change from accountancy to going into the business, and obviously starting, like you said, at the bottom. Mm-hmm. What did that, when you were in that period and you had that epiphany and you felt like accountancy wasn't the direction that you wanted to take?
Yeah.
How were you feeling at that point? Were you feeling like it was a risk, or were you feeling like I just literally can't do this for the rest of my life?
Just can't do it anymore. I think for me, what you're doing every day and what you get up for, it's a massive part of your life. You spend more time at work than at home. So if you don't enjoy it, I know there's a lot of stress on people, like financially, there's a lot of other things to consider, but if you don't fundamentally enjoy something, I don't think you should do it. And I think I just got to a point where I was qualifying. So for me, that was kind of the end of my journey. So, the end of my journey of studying and the start to be in practice fully qualified. But the hardest thing in that is getting qualified. So for me, I thought if I'm not happy here, when I've sat so many exams and passed them and I'm at the kind of pinnacle point, I'm not excited for that future at all, what am I doing, really? So I think from then I'd have taken any opportunity.
Right.
So it wasn't just necessarily an easy kind of way out for me. I think if I didn't go work for a family business, I would have set my own business up. I think I've always kind of had that mentality about myself. I've always wanted to just do the best that I can do in life. Like whether it's someone else's best, I'm not bothered about, but it's my best. And I just felt like I had so much more to give. So I think at that point I was really low. I think I would have done anything.
Yeah.
So for me, it was anything to get me out of that situation, because I knew that whatever I went to, even if that wasn't kind of like the final destination, it'd be better than how I felt at that time.
Mm. So when you started, did you envisage it going in the direction that it did? You know, like you've gone in there just to get away from accountancy. Did you think, right, I'm going to take this on, I'm going to do this, and in 10 years I'm going to be the MD, I'm going to be
Absolutely not.
top of a growth business, I'm going to be doing this?
I think in my head I would in other businesses, but because it was my family business, there was a lot of pressure in that just people's opinions. And like for me, I was actually the opposite. So me and my dad are really similar people. And I think I would have never kind of wanted the satisfaction of kind of like my hard work being taken away from me. So like from other people to say, oh, well, you know, it's your family business, that's why you are where you are. I think I, for years, really tried to like pull against that, because I was like, no, I will make my own path. I won't have people say that about me. And then I think that when I did go there and obviously created my own section, and there was a lot of change and growth over those years. It wasn't just that. There was so many different things. I think I realised that I was creating a different business. I wasn't just going and kind of going on the back of what my dad's created and his legacy. Obviously, massive help. Like, I appreciate everything, you know, to do with that journey. But I think that I've kind of now given myself credit for how different it actually is now, and just like blocking out that noise.
And obviously the sector that you're in, trade, materials, male dominated.
Yes.
So there's a little bit of butting of your own head is how I would describe it when you're going into that, with the almost that in the back of your mind, I'm going to prove everybody wrong that I haven't been gifted this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then also in the sector that you're in, did you have any difficulty or anything that you felt resistance from as a industry, obviously being a female in the sector?
Yeah. I think people just think that because I'm a female, I don't know what I'm talking about in that kind of sector. I think because of history, because it had been quite male dominant. Like when I joined the company, there was only one other lady that worked there. It was very male dominant in kind of landscapers. It's different now. I think it's definitely, there's a lot of females coming through that are absolutely brilliant in the industry. But I think over the period of 20 years, there's been kind of a lot of growth in that. I noticed quite a lot of things. And when I'm saying this, there is a lot of men in my industry that are great as well. So they're brilliant. They do everything. They support me. There's a lot of positives. But of the negative side, I think that, so I've had one situation where a male actually came up to me and told me that he'd met my boss. So he said, oh, I know who you are. I've met your boss before. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting, because I'm the boss. And he went white. He didn't know what to say to me, because I think he just had that assumption that there's no way in her age or being a female that she is the boss of that company, because it is quite male orientated. And I've had situations before where people ask questions, I'm giving the answers, but they're still not looking at me. They're looking for someone else. And it happens quite a lot. I think that's kind of a step to get over, but I think you just need to know your voice and kind of ignore that. I think you do come across it a lot, but you just have to know, basically your voice and what your knowledge and what you're trying to do. I think over time it's getting better and better, but I think in any industry that's male dominated, I think it's just proving that you do know what you're talking about. And I think sometimes even when people know you know what you're talking about, they still can't accept that you maybe might know a bit more, or you're in a different kind of position to them. So I do think you get a lot of that.
Do you, when that situation crops up, do you have a different way of processing it now versus
Absolutely.
6-7 years ago?
Absolutely. So I think 6-7 years ago, I So me as a person, I do care about what people think of me. It is a part of my personality. It serves me in some ways. It doesn't serve me in others. I think 7 years ago, it would have massively played on my mind. I'd be thinking, what can you do to prove to them that you're not that person? What can you do to change that perception? And I think now I just think, I don't want to change that perception. I think it's important to educate people to know more about, obviously, like that more females are in the industry, and, you know, how you do support a female that is in the industry, but then they might also be a mum and they might also have the house. I think education is really important. Yeah, I feel like it's just very different. So like now I focus on me and what I can do, what I know is right. And obviously I believe in myself a lot more now, so I don't question it as much. Whereas before it used to send me into periods of overthinking and yeah. So it's definitely changed a lot. I think I've grown as a person, but I wouldn't take it away either because it's made me a lot better person for it.
And what do you think about it being generational? Obviously, you've got your dad who is 60, and a lot of the older end, when you started, have retired and things. Are the people that you're facing where there's some resistance or there's some situations that crop up?
Yeah.
Are they at that age range, or is it mid? Is there more education to be done at the younger end of the scale?
I think there is more education to be done at the younger end of the scale. I think it's completely dependent. I think on the older side, I think generational wise, especially like in your 60s, just how society is, I think it was quite normal for a woman to be at home, to be for the kids and for the house, and kind of a career was never part of it. Whereas in the past 20 years, it's sometimes not even a choice. It's hard to live off one income per household. So some is choice and some is absolutely not choice. So it's kind of moved on that way. So I think for the older generation, I do understand it because it's what they know, it's what they've been used to. So for them, it's just the changing times that they then kind of need to familiarise themselves with. I think for the younger generation, I don't know if it's what they've learned from their parents, etc. But yeah, I do think a lot more education's needed. I think with anything, though, people are different. You can't always get an entire generation thinking the same thing. So
yeah. So going on to the family side and segueing from that, you've obviously got two young boys.
I do, yeah.
How would you want them to enter the workforce in terms of that opinion? Like, is there things that, based on your experiences, you're going to be discussing with them ahead of that happening, or is it just something that you're going to view as a non-topic by the time that they're entering the workforce?
I mean, I hope it's a non-topic, but I think for me, because I am a boy mum, I am very aware that I want them to have the education. So just little things, like I think that there is quite a gap in the fact that, say like 20 years ago, I think because a lot of women did have to be at home and maybe some women didn't feel like they had the choice, I think that they push their daughters into, you know, don't just be dependent on a man, you know, go stamp what you want. So you're in a situation because you're happy, not because you have to be. And I think there was a lot of education in that for women, but I think not necessarily the same for men. So I think for men, it's not even that it's intentional, but I think that they don't know how to support a full working woman. So by taking half of the responsibility in the house or the kids, and I think it's just what they're used to seeing from your parents. So I've definitely got a lot of opinions, let's say, from when I was younger. I think that the people that are around you that are your biggest influences in life, you're always going to have an opinion that's kind of made from that. So I think for me, I just want to educate them about the fact that, you know, I do work, and in the house, you don't just throw things on the floor and expect mum to pick them up. You play your role in the house, and just kind of, yeah, making them, like, I love them, I'll do anything for them, but I want to make them, you know, well-rounded people, emotionally intelligent. That's what I think a lot of, not men, people in general lack. So yeah, that's a big thing for me. I think if you've got emotional intelligence, whether it's about gender, age, anything, I think if you're an emotionally intelligent person, you just have way more understanding about different people, and also you're open to education. I think that's the problem with a lot of people, is that they're not open to it. They know what they know, they do what they do, and that's it. I actually remember a time with my grandparents, and amazing people, beautiful people, I love them more than the world, but certain comments that they say would make, and I'd say, you can't say that, and they're like, it's just what I know. I'm not saying it's right, it's just what I know, it's just what I'm used to. And like they're well at the other end, and it's like I'm not gonna try educate you. It's not, it's not what I don't want to put that pressure on you that everything's changing. But I think I know that they're great people, but they can still have outdated just opinions, and it's literally lack of education and what they're used to.
I've been in the same situations with my grandparents, and it's just to think the way that I frame that is they're not doing harm with it.
No, exactly.
There's a difference, and I think you've obviously got to make some allowances, haven't you? That generation that are like way that.
Yeah, like it's just like there's been such change, say, within the past 50 years. It is a lot to process, and I think even like one comment that they did make was like, I know what I'm saying is incorrect, but it's just what I'm used to. And I think, it's overwhelming. I think especially at that age, it's overwhelming that there is all this change. But if, again, like you said, if they're not doing any harm with it and they're not actually projecting how they feel, obviously apart from to me, who's very close family, that's different, then it's not as much of a problem unless they're kind of, projecting it on other people.
Yeah. So let's talk about balance.
Okay, yeah.
You're very busy. Very busy.
Toxic trait. I think I make myself busier when I'm not busy as well.
Yeah, you get into that though, don't you?
Yeah, like what else can I do?
But you're a mum. You've got a business, a growing business, a busy business. It's not any easier when you get home.
No.
How do you achieve balance?
I think for me, it's knowing where your happiness comes from. So I am a massive believer I love a to-do list, and I love prioritization of time. So say if in a working day that I know that I am working from 9 till 4, 9 till 5, whatever it might be, in that time I will give 100% of my time to what I'm doing. I won't go in the kitchen and talk for an hour while I'm making a coffee. I will make use of that time. I'm very aware of that. And then when I spend time with my children, they're all that matters. Work doesn't even come into it. I have boundaries that I know that's my happiness. I know this is what I'm doing it for. And it's, just having those boundaries, but also using the time that I've got kind of to its full potential. Because like some people say, for example, when they're spending time with the kids, they might be on the phone for 2 hours of it. I make sure that the time that I spend with my kids is 100% my time, whether they're having a meltdown that day or whatever challenge comes across that day. I just remember that I'm their mum and they need 100% of my attention in that time.
Yeah, so obviously time management.
Definitely, time management.
Also the use of the time.
Yeah.
How you spend it. It's precious, isn't it? It's your most precious asset.
It is. And I think a lot of people, I think this is why flexibility is important, but we'll come on to that after. But I think if you've got 9 till 5 and there's no flexibility, you have to work between 9 till 5, you find that maybe someone's not even productive for 3 hours of that time and no one's getting what they need from that situation. So I think that the time that you dedicate to something is you need to just concentrate on that one section. So whether it be family, children, work, and even businesses. So recently, me and my partner were doing another business. And I think even that, so I allocate my time to one business, to another business, to self-development. I think it's important to block your time out and make sure you stick to that time as well. Because I think it's quite easily to think, I just need to do that, or I just need to do this, and I've got to do that. And it's like, really, you don't. You do it in the times that you need. Obviously, there'll be times where you have to, but a lot of the time it's a mind game.
Have you developed that skill though, or is that something that you've always had?
I think I've definitely developed it. I think of it. So my kids are young. I've got one boy that's 3.5, and the other was 1 yesterday actually. So I think it's seeing. I think it's noticing it on them as well. So I do think I notice a lot of what's around me. And I think that maybe I didn't do as much of that maybe when they were younger. And then maybe guilt plays into it, where you think, I didn't give you the time that you deserved, and you see how it affects people. So I think it's something that's definitely developed. And it makes me feel better, as in me more productive. If I've got a list of what I'm doing at work and I get that list ticked off, I know that I've spent that productive, I've done what I needed to do in that time. So to think of something else I need to do isn't fair. So it's just balanced it between. But it's definitely, I think with anything, you think, well, have I always been that person? But I think anything, you grow, and that's why I'd never take away anything that's ever happened in my life, because you just grow and develop as a person. And I think sometimes you don't even realise how much you've grown until you have conversations like this and think, wow, I wouldn't have been that person 5-10 years ago.
I think when you're that busy, you never afford yourself the time to zoom out, though, do you?
Nope. No, you don't. And I think it's pressure you put on yourself. I think a lot of times you think that other people are putting on the pressure on you, but actually it's your boundaries. So there's a lot of times where, like, even some of my staff don't have the boundaries where, even for themselves, when customers contact them on a night and things like that, and you're made to feel like in that time you have to do that. But really, you need to put your boundaries in, because it's not going to affect anything by not doing it then and there. So I think it's about knowing your boundaries and managing it, and obviously putting your time management in and knowing where you get your happiness from. So like, my kids bring my happiness. So work's nothing without them. My life's nothing without them. Like, my family is everything to me. So if I don't give them that time, or I give them that dedicated time, I'm always going to regret it. You don't get that time back again. But it's also being kind to yourself as well when you run a business, because unfortunately things happen and you just can't help it. But if that's the case, that's fine. But it's how you in general live your life. There's always going to be curveballs, let's say.
Do you think that coming back to flexibility and work-life balance and things like that, do you think it's a possibility to achieve work-life balance as a business owner?
Definitely. Yeah, I think...
Interesting.
I do, because I think that I think it's really important about the team that you set yourself up with. I think if you're talking about work-life balance and you take everything on yourself, say if you are, you're in business on your own, you don't have a team around you, I think that then, it becomes very difficult, because the only person you're relying on yourself. I think for me, what's really important is actually setting yourself up with a team around you. So whether it be family, friends, people that work for you, but noticing in your life the things that aren't giving you the work-life balance. And, for me, I think it's like the pens thing. So like, I take everyone's pens and I hold all these pens, life coach analysis. You've got to give the pens back to people. I think sometimes everyone gives you all the pens and you need to do something with these pens. But actually, if you just gave everyone the pen back one by one, I think you put yourself under your own pressure sometimes. So I do think it's achievable, different for different people though. It depends what one person thinks work-life balance is compared to another. And I think it's industry driven. I think there's a lot of different things that can affect it.
I think flexibility means a completely different thing now from a company's perspective and on an employee's perspective. That COVID accelerated and pretty much turned everything upside down. And I think flexibility is top of everyone's list now. Yeah. Because it's forced companies to give the trust to the employee that they are going to do what they're there to do. Yeah. But that means in today's world, they can go to the dentist, they can go to the doctors, and if they're not sat at the desk, doesn't mean that they're not working. Yeah. And I think the meaning of flexibility has completely changed, which also ties into work-life balance. Yeah. I think where it differs perhaps for a business owner is, I don't know whether this is unique to me. Yeah, well, no, yeah. Think the same, but I mean, you're always on. There's always that little part of your brain that's just like thinking. And if you get something that comes in, it doesn't matter whether it's 9 o'clock on a Saturday night. If it's important enough, you're going to deal with it.
I think you're always going to have that. But I think by putting boundaries in for yourself. So like, one of my boundaries is I don't check my emails before I go to sleep. So what I'll do is I will get home, completely switch off. I have probably about 2 hours, an hour and a half with my children before they go to bed. They go to bed about 7 o'clock. I'll then allow myself an hour to go through any emails that I haven't got at work, just to catch up on everything. Yeah. But then I will have probably from like 9:30, I will not look at those emails, because I think that sometimes you'll get an email and you think, oh, I need to do something with that straight away, but you don't. You can deal with it in the morning. And I think by opening yourself up to that email, you have broken sleep, you have all that stress all night, you don't set yourself well up for tomorrow. And I think something that might take you half an hour to do in the morning is actually going to take you 3 hours, because you've depleted yourself so much for worrying about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think boundaries comes into that massively. There is certain things though, that cash flow, things like that, sometimes you can't get away from it. But I think as a general, if you put that rule in for yourself, I think it helps you know when you've got your own time,
Mm-hmm.
and like also looking after yourself. So like for me, I love a massage. Just having that time, even if it's every few months, every 6 months, that you're setting it out for yourself and not letting anyone kind of break that, just having that set time, whether it's the gym, whatever it is that makes you happy, focuses on yourself. I think having that time is really important. And I think that helps with work-life balance, because I think it helps you manage it better.
Have you ever set aside time, no matter how much time, to just think?
So I'm quite fortunate in the fact that I actually have quite a long drive to work. So that is a lot of my thinking time. I'd say that that's probably the time that I think the most. There's a lot of time when I come back from work and the kids are in bed, I will sit in the garden to just think. But sometimes it's difficult, because I think sometimes it's really beneficial. But then also sometimes when you think, you go into a whole different kind of level that you just did not need. So I think it's giving yourself time to think, but also, like for me, I'm always thinking about the next thing. What else can I do? How else can I make an impact? What can I do more? Like, it's like how I constantly think. And I think for me, it's like, I'm not going to say I don't do it, because I do it, but it's just sometimes stopping and actually appreciating where you are and how far you've come. And if someone else was to give an overview on your life and look from the outside in, they'd be saying, they're brilliant, they're a great parent, they're great at business, they're emotionally intelligent. Like 5 years ago, you were all these things that you've improved on. And I think that's really important, is having that thinking time to be like, you know what, yeah, well done. Like, well done for the change and like all the things that you thought you couldn't do that you're doing and you're doing well at. So just being kind to yourself, I think that's a really big thing. Definitely something that I need to be.
Yeah, I think you've got to get off the treadmill every now and then.
You do.
To appreciate where you've come.
Yeah. Holidays. And I don't just mean going abroad, anything, like having that time booked off to know, even if it's going out for the day with your children and just going for a picnic in a field, anything, like it's really important to have that time. I think a lot of the time, especially for me, I'm on this kind of a wheel and then I take a holiday and it's like, wow, I've never been able to think as clearly. I think thinking clearly and thinking are two completely different things. So I think it's allowing yourself that time to actually be able to clearly think, not just...
Yeah, freedom of thought. It's it's cyclical, isn't it? You've got to take yourself out of an environment that you're in constantly.
You do. It's really, and you don't realise how much you do until you do.
Yeah, it's a good unlock.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think how you've just described that as a journey and the things that you've just been saying, like giving yourself time to think, do you think that is your evolution into leadership, becoming a leader?
I think so. I think giving yourself time, thinking space kind of makes it certain about what you want to do. But for me with leadership, I think that I've learned from a lot of different people. And I don't mean all good things, good and bad things. I think, so when I was an accountant, I worked for a really male-dominated firm, like 30 years ago, in the way that they thought about things. Like, I remember one time, one of my bosses was having a meeting with someone, and at this time I didn't realise kind of like how bad it was until after. And they basically asked me to bring a blank piece of paper into that meeting room to give him. And it was obviously because they wanted to bring me into the room, so I was one of the only women that worked there. And at the time, I didn't really think much of it. But then obviously in time, it's like that way of thinking is just ridiculous. So I think that it is a time thing. I think you definitely grow with time, but I think that you, as a leader, I think you pick up from everyone what you do want to do and what you don't want to do, and then naturally you apply it in how you are as a person. I think you learn on your path of different things. Of you might see someone acting in a way that is in leadership and think, oh, you know what, that's great, I'm going to take that with me. Other things that you think, absolutely not. And I think over time, you grow as a leader. But I think as well, fundamentally, you lead with who you actually are. And I think that it definitely helps along the path. But I think when it comes down to it, especially me as a leader, I think I'm emotionally intelligent and I'm fair. I actually treat my team as people. I don't assume that my full team are all the same. I get to know them as people. I love the saying, like, round peg, round hole. Like, people are different, and like, you should know about your team. And I think that that's how your leadership grows over time, is that it's really important to know who you're leading, and I think that's different for everyone.
How old were you when you got asked to bring that paper in?
18.
18.
17, 18.
What would you say to 18-year-old Amy in that situation now? Know it with the knowledge that you've got.
Back yourself. Like, back yourself. I think for me, because again, it was, quite a prestigious firm. Like, for me, it was important to prove my worth. I knew I was good at my job, but I wanted to be the best at my job. So the people that were my bosses, in my head, I was like, I just want to please them. Again, a trait that I do have. I want to please them. I want to do my best. And I think 18-year-old me at that time maybe thought, this is in a not a compliment, but like, it was like, oh, what he wants to, it's like, oh, I work here kind of thing. And I think it's only over time that I've realised how kind of twisted that is. So yeah, I think if I could go back there, it's just giving 18-year-old myself a hug and just being like, you're gonna make it, whatever you do, because you're just gonna keep trying, you're just gonna keep getting back up. Stuff's gonna knock you down and you're gonna keep getting back up again. And I think, it's just knowing, I think when your confidence is not there, or you're not, I think, again, time, you just learn over time. So I think I just wasn't in that time, I didn't have enough education, I didn't have enough knowledge, experience to kind of process kind of what was happening.
I think resilience is something that is learned over time, but is also very underrated.
Oh, yeah.
And I think there's a generation now of people that were affected by COVID that don't have a level of resilience that I think they need to be in the workforce. Absolutely.
I think resilience is just one of the biggest things. Like, one thing that I always say is, if you get knocked back, you need to get back up again. It happens to me now. It happened to me 2 days ago. It happens to me all the time. I think that, especially in the younger generation, I think there's a big thing of kind of, you don't have to work hard to be able to get to where you want. And I think that, there's a lot of different industries that have different types of, working patterns. But I think in anything, you have to be resilient, and you will get knocked back. I think if someone sat here saying they've never had any setbacks, you're not doing what you should do. I think in anything, you have to, there's so many times, there's so many different things where you get set back, and you literally just have to believe in yourself and block it out, move on.
I think that if you look at any successful leader, there's some adversity somewhere.
Oh, absolutely.
On that journey. And I think resilience, like I say, it's underrated.
Oh, yeah. It's needed.
It's so needed.
It's so needed, yeah.
It should be taught.
It should, I agree. No, it should. But I think a lot of people think it's failure. And then they get in their own mind and they think, oh no, failed, that's it. And that's why one of my biggest things for anyone that's doing a business, or anyone that's wanting to, be better, is just keep trying, like keep getting back up and keep trying. I remember I spoke this through with a I used to have a coach just to kind of just help me, because I think that, again, having someone to speak to is really important. You don't always get that at home. So having someone separate is important. And I remember her saying to me, because I just felt like I kept doing things, it kept getting knocked back. It happened a lot. And she just said to me, she was like, if you have a graph, perfection, if you think it's a straight line going up the graph, even if it goes up, hits the bottom, goes up, hits the bottom, that is still progression. It doesn't have to be perfect to progress. You just have to naturally be learning. And I think that hit me quite hard, definitely as a perfectionist anyway. And I think now I kind of embody that. I just kind of live in it. So when something bad happens, I am one of these people like, well, wasn't meant to be. Something else is going to come that's better. Like that wasn't meant to be for me. And I don't think I even stay in that mode very long. I'm quite good at, that's fine, that wasn't meant to be, move forward.
Yeah, I think that comes with experience, doesn't it? I think
Definitely.
When you're starting out, you put something on a pedestal and you're like, right, that's it. I'm going there.
Yeah.
And when you get to 5, 10, 15, 20 years into your career, you understand and you learn that the journey is the thing, not the destination.
It absolutely is.
And it sounds stupid, doesn't it? But it is.
It is. And I don't know if you can teach that there. I don't know if someone said that to me, to 18-year-old me, whatever. And I think that's the thing. You kind of have to have that growth to learn it. So when we say about resilience and getting back up, and I think that's what needs to be in education, because you haven't failed, just that just wasn't for you, or you needed to learn X, Y, Z, all these 10 things to even be there. Like, if I'd have got half of the things that I wanted in the past 15 years, I would have not been ready. That it was not my time. It's so, even though it felt like the worst possible thing at that time, it's the best possible thing that could have happened to me at that time. And you only learn that with years and experience.
Hindsight.
Yeah, hindsight. It's a wonderful thing.
Right. I'm going to move us into a quick fire round, which is 5 questions. First thing that comes into your head.
Okay.
No filter.
Can it just not be a one answer question?
I mean,
or does it have to be a one answer question?
Whenever I get these directed at me by Polly or Dan, they want one word, but I'm absolutely not capable of delivering an answer.
No, neither am I. No. Well, I'll give it my best shot.
So there's no rules. Right. One business book that you swear by.
Can't do that in one word. I think for me, it's not a business book. I think it's all of the, positive thinking, law of attraction, all that. I think that having a positive attitude helps with everything.
Agreed.
I think there's loads of business books, but it depends what you want to do. If you want to be a bit more assertive, if you want to good to great, it's a great book. It depends what you want from a business book, but I think the fundamentals for me is like the cliche, the secret, the magic, just basically just positive thinking. I think that's fundamental for me.
Is there any that you've come across where you've finished it or read it and thought, yeah, makes sense?
Yeah, loads. Loads. It depends what you want to work on. There was a time in my life where I needed to be more assertive. There was too much nice coming out of me and not enough assertive. And I read a book, I can't remember what it was called. I think it was like For the People, and it was all on assertiveness. I didn't even finish the book. I think I did the first chapter. I just had an epiphany. I was like, I don't even need this book anymore. Like, it's told me what I need to know. And I think sometimes you don't have to finish a full book, or there's a lot of books that you can take sections out of, depending on what you want help with at that time. And sometimes you just know it. But I think having that kind of prop to be able to just reaffirm it to yourself is really important. But yeah.
One piece of advice that you wish you had at the start of your career?
Take calculated risks, I would say, and push yourself out of your comfort zone. I think that's one thing I wish that I'd have been told, because I think that taking calculated risks and putting yourself out of your comfort zone, that's where growth happens. You can't stay comfortable for too long. I think definitely calculated risks, but you have to take them steps and move forward. Yeah, I wish I'd been told that a little bit more at the start.
I think that's a personality thing, though. Like you've clearly got that entrepreneurial mindset where you're looking to progress yourself, you're looking for opportunities, and I think there's there's a lot of negative content around that online where it's made out to look easy to start a business, to run a business, to scale it, all this kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
When in reality, you can be a fucking great employee as well.
Yeah.
In the same breath. And I think there's a real imbalance at the moment on social with everybody should own a business, everybody should be an entrepreneur, everybody should take this, but you've got to have a bit of self-awareness in that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, you definitely do. I think whatever you do in your life, I think that there's a space for everything. There's a space for business owners, there's a space for working for people. I think it's just about yourself being a better version. So like, if you're a business owner, taking a calculated risk might be, so like, for example, for me, I currently have one HQ. For me, taking the next step is like branching that out into different, maybe parts of the industry that I didn't kind of think of before. But taking a calculated risk can be anything. It can be very small. It doesn't have to be a massive change.
Mm-hmm.
It's just put yourself in situations that you feel uncomfortable, because it helps everything. It just helps everything. I can't say it anymore.
Your best habit for staying productive?
Oh, a to-do list.
A to-do list.
To-do list. Yeah. I love a to-do list. Anything, if I am cleaning the house, if it's about my kids, obviously not spending time with them, but the things that they need to have done, work, anything, a to-do list is everything. I carry a notebook around. That notebook is stuck to me like glue, and that's the boundaries thing. So if I think of something at 10 o'clock at night, I won't ignore it. I'll write it on my to-do list. If it's on my to-do list, I forget about it because I'm going to get to it. I think a lot of the time, I've actually got a friend who, she struggles with insomnia. She's in struggle for quite a few years. And I actually asked her about a to-do list, and she told me she'd never written a to-do list in her life. Like my brain was like, how have you survived? Like, because that's just how I work. Yeah. So yeah, to-do list definitely is the best habit, and getting up early. I think getting up early and to-do lists are really important. Getting up early more so just to start your day right. I think it's,
I used to have
really
a notebook
important
on my bedside table until I had kids.
Yeah,
and then I was like, I'm just asleep when I'm in bed now.
Yeah, no, I don't blame. It's like having a dream book, though, isn't it? But I think it's just nice to get your thoughts out onto it. And everyone works differently. That's just how I work. Yeah. I like pen to paper and to tick things off. It makes me feel like I'm getting somewhere.
I think it's good to get it out of your head and on.
Absolutely,
anyway.
Yeah.
The biggest myth about running a business?
I think you've kind of covered it, is the fact that people think that anyone that runs a business is easy. Oh, you've got it all. You can, you're fine. You run a business. You don't need to worry about anything. You run a business. Where in actual fact, you need to check in on the people that run a business. Like, it's hard work, and it's all the pressure that's on you. So I think a lot of the time you see people when they're kind of at the peak and you think, oh, it's all come to you really easily. They don't see that mammoth struggle that's kind of behind it. So I think, that's the biggest myth. And people just need to be kinder to people in general. But I think that people that run a business have got immense pressure on them, no matter what type of business it is they run. Mm-hmm. So to me, that's, the biggest myth.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. It's lonely.
It is really lonely. It is. And I think there's no one that understands your brain. So a lot of the time it's the pressure that you give yourself, and it's really hard. Like, some days I think, oh, you're doing really well. And then other days I think you're doing terrible. Like, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I think it's all the pressure that's constantly on you, like just everything that's to do with it, cash flow, progressing a business, all the people that you need to make sure are looked after and supported. And it's constant. It's like one person can say something like, oh, you've let me down a little bit. Out of 1,000 people that you haven't,
yeah.
And I think that's why I need to be kinder to people, because just because you run a business doesn't mean you're a different type of person. And I think it's hard work. Yeah.
I think we could do with a bit more kindness just in general, to be fair.
Oh, agreed. Absolutely agreed.
Okay. That's it. Final thoughts. Where can people find you? Where can people check out your business, what you do, where you speak?
So I've got Instagram. Yeah. I am starting my own podcast, which is going to be called Directing Life. So I don't know when this is going to go live, but it should be on Spotify at that point. Instagram, RF Paving, the website, RF Landscape Products, and LinkedIn. So we're a bit of everywhere.
Thank you very much.
Thank
It's been
you,
lovely
Lee,
to
for
talk to you,
having me.
Amy.
Thank you very much.